The iPhone X is coming up to 5 years old now, and that means it's officially old in the smartphone world. So should you consider buying or using one in 2022, or should you opt for something a little bit newer? Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and thanks to Damien Wild for providing today's subject matter. This is my review of the iPhone X 5 years later. You can get one of these on the used market on eBay for around £200, which is about £50 down from last year when I last checked one of these out. That is 20% of its original £1,000 price tag, though this will get you one in significantly worse condition than brand new. Because of course older smartphones require battery replacements every so often, and you're probably going to get one with a low battery health for £200, but you could also run into further issues if your model happens to have a replacement display. Essentially, for these models, replacement displays could result in phantom touches in your smartphone. Not a fun time, I must say, from my iPhone 6 way back in the day. Having touch disease, it is not great. It basically renders the device unusable, so you really do have to watch out for that one. This phone itself is in good condition after a few years, though this won't be the case if you buy a really used unit out there. And for the love of whatever, please do not buy a brand new 5-year-old smartphone. It just doesn't make any sense. I've got to say, this form factor in this shape is brilliant. I miss these rounded sides. It doesn't look quite as sharp, but it feels way nicer in the hand because, spoiler alert, sharp edges aren't ergonomic. I've always loved the way this thing looks. It seems iconic now, but the Panda/Stormtrooper colour scheme and titanium rails, they just look great. This phone is a looker. And the small to mid size is very pocketable too, even with a case on it. That's helped by the very nice 5.8-inch 1100p OLED display. It's not 120Hz, it's not huge, but it's more than enough for anyone to enjoy social media, watching the odd YouTube video and playing games. I found it an absolute joy to use, and yes, okay, it's only 60Hz, but you know, it's fine. We've been putting up with 60Hz for ages and it works. It doesn't feel particularly laggy, and because of Apple's high touch sampling rate, you end up with a fluid experience even considering it's a 60Hz panel. The performance is where the X starts to show its age. It's a 5-year-old phone, and sure, it uses a flagship component from 5 years ago, but it's not super fast. It's actually not that bad for a 5-year-old device. You can still make your way around social media, multitasking. It really isn't as bad as you might expect. However, it is starting to slow down, and in the next couple of years is where it's really going to show its age. Speaking of the next couple of years, that is how long I would expect at least this smartphone to get software updates for. I mean, you know, Apple does such a great job with their software updates. And though you might not get all of the latest features that rely on the newer hardware, you are at least going to get security patches and of course the new aesthetic and stuff like that. Let's talk about battery life. This is a hard one to sort of evaluate because this has 100% battery health, courtesy of Damien Wild providing the smartphone. He got it with a refreshed battery, got it all refurbished by Apple, which means it lasts most of the day. Like, I was getting a solid day out of it with maybe 10% left at the end of the day. Sure, that's not very good battery life wise, but given that the phone is 5 years old and how small it is, it's actually not that bad. But if you buy a device, you're likely to get it on around 80 to 85% battery health, and at that, you may need to charge it throughout the day, maybe at lunchtime for 20 minutes or whatever. And you're going to need to charge it a significant amount, not just a quick, 10-20% top up. It's going to need sort of 50% charging, which is really a shame. It's one of the reasons that maybe you should go with a different model, but actually, given the rest of the phone is so nice, I don't know, it's kind of, you have to toss up between one or the other. Let's talk about cameras. The 2x telephoto isn't all that useful. I'm just going to come out and say it. It doesn't produce great quality photos in my opinion. You're much better off sticking with the main and selfie cameras, which oddly produce much nicer colours than the newer models. Sure, there's not as much dynamic range in the images, and there's still this issue with skin tones that I've been raving about since the iPhone 8 came out, but in general there's more contrast and a lot more natural colours. I think it doesn't look quite as exciting, but it definitely looks more realistic, and it's what I quite like about the iPhone X's profile. Images look sharp enough and there's plenty of detail. I wouldn't worry about it only being a 12 megapixel sensor because of course up until the 14 we have 12 megapixel sensors, so it's never really going to hinder it in that way, though low light performance does struggle because of how small the sensor is compared to the newer, bigger sensors despite the same resolution. And in general, the iPhone X is definitely not unusable, but it really does depend on the condition of the battery as to how good it's going to be. I happen to find this one to be really good actually. I would happily daily it, and that's because of its 100% battery health and the fact that it feels pretty pristine, to be honest. If you get one in much worse condition or worse battery health, then the performance and everything is just going to degrade further. It's going to compile. You're going to end up with a phone that doesn't feel the same phone as the one I tested, because the one I tested was in such good condition. As of recording this voiceover, the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro have just been announced, which look fantastic. They are a lot newer, a lot more expensive, but they do offer quite a lot more in terms of, well, just, you know, we've moved quite far in the past 5 years. Bigger, better OLED screens, way better cameras, bigger batteries, way more performance, but of course, you know, you lack the nice size and the nice form factor. Oh, and yeah, there is the little issue of the iPhone X only being 200 quid as opposed to 700 quid. And that's where I'm going to leave today's video, guys. Those of you still watching, really love the support. I do apologise. I'm quite tired at the moment. That's probably why my eyes are so red. I woke up one day and I just have red eyes now. Nice. No, but it is 4:49 a.m. So yeah, doing this before I go to work. Thanks for watching the video, guys. As always, check out the links in the video description. Please do hit a like, comment and subscribe. You know, all that stuff really does help out the channel. I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons for being continually supportive. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Peace.